If you're planning on buying a new construction home this year here in the Inland Empire, regardless of whether or not you have to sell your house in order to do that, no one wants to feel taken advantage of. And in this video, that's exactly what we're going to discuss: negotiating with the builder when buying a new construction home. Let's start here because there are a few differences with the negotiations depending on the type of new construction home you're buying. Meaning there's a spec home or inventory home and a ground up new construction home. A spec home, or like I said, it's also known as an inventory home, but this is a home that the builder, they've already built, it's done. Maybe they added a few upgrades to the house, but the bottom line is it's done, it's built, it's ready to go. A ground up new construction home, that one has not been built. It's an empty lot. Nothing has been done. The builder is waiting for somebody to come and buy the home that's going to go in that lot. And once that happens, then they'll get started. Then they'll start building that house. So what's available for negotiating, it really can vary for the most part, but it really can vary depending on whether it's a spec home or a ground up home.
Care to elaborate?
Hey, real quick, before I do get into that, if this is your first time here, my name's Jose. I am your SoCal realtor. If you are thinking about buying or selling a home, don't hesitate to reach out. My team and I, we've helped many people just like you, and we're here and ready to help you with your real estate needs too. So let's go ahead and get back to the video. Okay, so first, let's do this. Let's start here because if you're here to find out, hey Jose, how do we negotiate the price? If you're talking about a spec home, then sure, I mean, there's a little bit more potential for negotiating on things like that because again, it's an inventory home. It's a home that they've already built. They have money invested in building this house, money invested in things like the materials, the appliances in the house, money invested into the labor for the house. They're less likely to want that house to sit there built but unsold any longer than, well, than needed. However, please hear me when I say that though, because I'm definitely not saying that, you know, they're just gonna give them all away. I mean, it's a $600,000 house, but this one we'll sell it for $520. Sure, I mean, if they're desperate enough, maybe they would, but I wouldn't hold my breath on that. Again though, when it comes to a spec home, that's where you'll usually anyway find at least a little more opportunity to negotiate in things like the price. In fact, here's what I would do. I would have your agent do what they call a comparative analysis for all the homes that have sold in that development, and very similar to what any agent should be doing when you're buying any house. Now, this isn't information that's always available, but yeah, I'd at least have your agent look into it though. But if you're able to find that they're trying to sell you the house for $600,000, but other similar models have very recently been selling for more like, I'm gonna say $580,000, then why the increase in the price? Maybe there is some opportunity to negotiate on the price here. Of course, the opposite is true too, because if they're trying to sell you this home, $600,000, but you're able to find that other similar models in that area have recently been selling for more like, I'm gonna say $620,000, you might have a builder that's saying, you know, hey, we're coming down to the end of the inventory. Let's offer a good deal. Let's get these last homes sold.
I'll take it.
That one may not be a likely scenario, but sure, it is possible. For ground up new construction though, they're not as likely to want to negotiate on the price because if they have other lots, if they have a lot of other lots to build in that phase, or let's just say they have additional phases that they plan on building, but if they have all these lots that they plan on building and they sell that house to you, or they sell it to anybody at a discounted price, that's going to hurt the appraised value for all those other lots that they plan on building houses on and selling. Yeah, those appraisals, they're just as important for the builders too. In fact, it's not uncommon for a builder to finish this phase, move on to the next phase, and raise the price on the homes in that one.
$1 million.
But if they have too many low appraisals, they're not gonna be able to justify the sales price for any of the future homes in this phase. And they're definitely not gonna be able to raise the prices for any future phases. In fact, quite the opposite. They may even have to start lowering the prices. Yeah, the builders aren't going to set themselves up for that situation. In fact, actually, even with spec homes, that one's even market dependent because if they have spec homes that they're all selling at a pretty reasonably healthy pace, they don't need to. They don't have a reason to negotiate on the price. So again, even that one can vary depending on the market. The truth is, for most builders, if they're going to be willing to negotiate with you, it's going to more than likely be negotiating on incentives that they offer you. And keep in mind, I mean, this is not a one-size-fits-all for every builder out there, or even every location for the same builder. But for most builders, they do offer incentives when you use their lender for the financing. They'll generally offer things like maybe upgraded shutters, upgraded countertops, flooring. They might even offer you, a rate buy down on your loan. The amount of money that the builder does offer for these incentives, it can vary. I mean, usually, at least in my personal experience anyway, it's kind of in that, I'm gonna say $10,000 to like $25,000. Of course, if the housing market is a little slower, I mean, it's possible that a builder could maybe offer a little bit more than that though. But usually, again, in my experiences, it usually kind of is in that $10,000 to $25,000 range. But if it's a spec home, it's already built then, right? I mean, is there still any room for negotiating on those incentives? Sure, there's still a possibility. Now, of course, this is definitely still market driven, but sure, I've seen builders willing to negotiate, even on a spec home, but I've seen them willing to negotiate on incentives, maybe adding shutters or just some shutters to the house, or maybe rain gutters. Or if they're not already offering it, maybe offering a rate buy down. Two important things to keep in mind when it comes to negotiating with a builder though, and that is number one, is that sales rep that's in that office, they are not the final authority when it comes to either rejecting or accepting anything that you negotiate with them. I can't remember where I first heard this from, so I apologize for not being able to give credit. It's not mine. I didn't make this one up, but is it ever true? Because the sales rep at a new construction development site, they're a lot like the sales rep at a car dealership. Meaning this, when you go to a car dealership and you're talking to the salesperson and you're trying to negotiate something with them, what do they always do? I got to go talk to my manager. And I know some of that is sales tactic. I mean, I get that, but it really is true. They have to get the approval from their manager. Well, the same is pretty much true for the sales rep at a new construction site. They're not the person that has the authority to accept or reject anything that you do negotiate on. And just hear me though, also really important, no matter what you're negotiating on or who you're negotiating with, the nicer you are to that sales rep, well, the more likely they are when they do go talk to their sales manager, the more likely they are to try and push a little bit more for you and for whatever it is you're negotiating on. Because listen, no one's going to go out of their way for a rude, demanding jerk. And number two, I wouldn't do it without an agent. And I know what you're about to say. I don't need an agent to buy a new construction house though. And you're right, you don't need an agent, but you really should have one. Because most agents, the good ones anyway, but most agents are experienced in negotiations. And that doesn't mean that you're going to get absolutely everything you could possibly ever want from this negotiation. Because that's not negotiating. That's, I don't know, voodoo hypnotism or whatever.
You don't need to see his identification.
We don't need to see his identification.
He can go about his business.
You can go about your business.
But having an experienced negotiator, it certainly increases the opportunity of getting whatever it is that you want from that negotiation. And look, I'm not saying that the sales reps at a new construction site are evil people out to get you, conniving, or no, I'm not saying anything like that at all. I'm just saying that they don't work for you. They work for the builder. That's who their client is the builder. So sure, they'll help you with buying the house. They'll help you with all the paperwork to do that, but they're not likely to negotiate anything against their client for anything on your behalf, because that's who they're employed by, is the builder, the ones that are trying to sell you the house. Not to mention, it doesn't cost you anything extra to have an agent that represents only you. Notice I didn't say that it's free though, because technically it's not free. I mean, sure, the fee to your agent, it comes directly from the builder, and make no mistake, they're not doing that out of the kindness of their heart. They're not saying, we really like this buyer. No, the fee for your agent, it's already built into the sales price. The fee for your agent, or any agent for that matter, it's already part of the sales price, whether you have an agent or you don't. And no, before you ask, you're not going to save any money by not having an agent. The builders are not going to lower the sales price just because you don't have an agent. Remember those appraisals? In fact, if we're being honest, there's a realistic chance you could actually pay extra by choosing to go it alone and not have an agent. Yeah, unfortunately, I have seen where builders, they might slip in extra fees, or they just don't negotiate as much when working with an unrepresented buyer. Again, you don't have to have an agent to buy a new construction home. I mean, you can definitely do it without one, But if it doesn't cost you anything extra to have someone that works for you, that represents you, that's there to negotiate for you, that, someone that understands the process, the ins and outs of buying a new construction home, then why wouldn't you want an agent? Of course, if you have any questions at all, or if you are thinking about buying or selling a home, new construction or not, but if you are thinking about buying or selling a home, my contact information is below. Feel free to reach out. Otherwise, until then, catch you on the next one.